Stefanski let a lot out about how this is going to look, and it sure seems like the joint practices are really what we're thinking a lot about. Mm-hmm. And Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, you're not playing on Friday. Shedeur, you didn't really get a lot of first-team reps. Enjoy Friday.
That's what it is. It became pretty obvious that he cares about the joint practices the most. I still don't know why Tyler Huntley even got any snaps today, if we're being honest about it. But yeah, he cared about today. That's why Joe Flacco was able to get a lot of the snaps with the first team. And then we'll see on Friday what happens. But Stefanski's just not putting a lot of stake into that.
When yesterday we broke the news on air, we brought the Mary Kay Cabot report on air at 4. The thing that we talked about, the wait and see was, let's see how many first-team reps he gets tomorrow in joint practices, so today, and then let's see who's on the field around him on Friday. And the only part we don't know yet is, let's see how much he actually plays. And I think the Browns have done a lot of, we've got to protect Shedeur. Well, if you don't give him first-team reps and Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman aren't out there on Friday, 2 of the 3 things you could do to protect him are now not going to be done by the time he sees the field on Friday.
Well, and so I don't want it to be pictured, and I feel like some Shedeur fans already are doing this, and I love Shedeur, but like I don't want this to be the narrative that he's being thrown to the wolves. Like, if all you ask for is opportunities, when you get the opportunities, they can't then come with an asterisk. And so, like, I'm gonna tell my Shedeur fans and the people that love Shedeur the same way that I do, all we asked for here was an opportunity. You can't be mad at how the opportunity is then delivered.
Yeah, I think some of that is it's making an excuse because they assume he's going to fail, which I think is really wild.
Oh, you see, now that I think is an interesting take, because I don't know that the Shedeur fans believe that he's going to fail. I think a lot of Shedeur fans believe he'll succeed in any situation that he's thrown out there.
But if you're calling out beforehand, hey, you're not setting up to succeed, aren't you doubting his ability to succeed on Friday?
No, I think what they're doing is trying to set themselves up for when he delivers, or even if it just is slightly above average, or then is even better than above average, it can be like, oh, and you see, he even did it with the second team against the Panthers' first team, and he did it with Gage, and he did it with all these other players. And it's like, so it would almost make it seem like it's even more impressive as the build up here.
Oh, I think it's a little bit of protecting yourself.
If you're doubting Shedeur Sanders, then first off, I've not seen many Shedeur Sanders fans show any sense of doubt in general anyway. But if like now the doubt creeps in, then you got a lot more to worry about than what happens in a preseason number 1 game against the Panthers.
I mean, I think you should temper your expectations for Friday. He doesn't have enough time working with the ones. And, oh, by the way, they've said he's not ready, meaning to be like getting those reps with the ones. So the fact he's going out there with guys he's not used to playing with, and he
should be used to playing with a lot of these guys, because these guys are the 2s and the 3s. These are the guys he's been throwing to. And
it's mostly been the 3s and 4s.
And from the Panthers' perspective, they're only going to play their starters, from what Canales was saying, potentially 11, 12 snaps.
I just think
the majority of this game will be a 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3 competition.
I think the reality is, I think you have to temper your expectations a little bit, because the Browns, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, and I tend to think like the only thing that could have really changed was whether Jeudy or Tillman played on Friday and how many first-team reps Shedeur got today. Beyond that, like, they had no intention of starting him in this game a week ago. So, like, you can't get into DeLorean and change your previous steps to make this better. But yeah, I mean, I don't like. I'm tempering my expectations because the kid's got a lot he's got to work on. He hasn't been given the kind of reps he needs, and now he's not going to have a lot of juice around him. Even if once you get into the second, really more the 3rd and 4th team, you've actually have practiced more with those guys.
So that sounds very rational, and that sounds very real, and I'm happy that you're there. I would bet like a large portion of the fan base is not going to take it as reasonable as you are. Mm-hmm. I hope that's the reaction. If he struggles, I hope that people are mirroring what you're saying right now. Is like, he didn't have enough opportunities. He just kind of got thrown in there, and he was up against it from Jump Street. I can't take that approach, though. As someone that has been behind Shedeur Sanders and like supporting Shedeur in this entire stretch and believing that he can play good football, I can't, and I don't think Shedeur Sanders fans should take that approach either, because ultimately all we asked for at the end of the day was a chance and an opportunity. We can't then cry about how the opportunity looks.
I mean, I think what the last 24 hours has proven is, the Browns spent so much time, I do think, trying to tamp down the noise with Shedeur and just make it about football. And I think what this has proven is if there's a little reticence to go too deep into any of this because, well, we don't want to, hype up the hype up the hype sounds dumb, but get everybody lathered up. I mean, it's a preseason game. He's starting. And, I mean, if you look across every network, if you look across all the Shahive, it's either you're failing this kid or get ready for, to put a rocket, strapped to his booty cheeks because he's flying to the moon and back.
It sounds like that would hurt.
That's just a lot of noise.
That would hurt. Or
Like,
a rocket strapped to the booty cheeks.
Well, I mean, you put on like maybe an outfit outside of it. You wouldn't exactly bolt it into like your hips. That would just be cruel, I think.
Naturally, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's how that goes down.
That's just not how that would not be setting Shedeur up for success,
so
I'd say.
What's Stefanski's big line? He's like, we could do this in a parking lot. He's always talking, for some reason, he always brings parking lots in the equation. We could play him in a parking lot.
Got a lot of those in Philly, I
Shedeur
guess.
should be able to play anybody and anyone in a parking lot and be able to look good. Like, I don't want to hear the excuses from my Shedeur Sanders fans, the brethren, like coming back on Friday night being like he was set up to fail, he was set up for this. No. Shedeur's not speaking that way. We shouldn't be speaking that way either. He's having a real opportunity. Go out there and make the most of it. And if you do struggle, then maybe, just maybe, although I still think you're in a position to go ahead and set yourself up long term, maybe, just maybe, the Browns were right about what they did initially.
Yeah, but the noise is going to be like, even after yesterday, I don't
think that's likely.
We had so much stuff that happened yesterday where it was almost 5 hours of Shedeur. And obviously, hey, shocker, CNN talks a lot about the president. In Cleveland, the sports talk station talks a lot about the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I joked with you yesterday. You go to a fast food place, they served you a burger, you can't be surprised.
I needed like a withdrawal yesterday after the show. I needed to just not think about Shedeur.
I was jonesing for more.
And it was why
I was jonesing for more. This is my battery.
You're going to get it. You wait.
I've told you before about how, like, my wife in social settings, it's like a battery for her. It charges her up, and that's how she works. Mm-hmm. She gets like extra energy from it, where me, I just don't get extra energy from it. Shedeur convos for me, they get the battery going. They get me charged up. I could do
you are going to be turned up to an 11 for the next 4 days.
We could do a radiothon just strictly talking Shedeur Sanders, whereas yourself, it's like, all right, we did enough here. It's okay.
Yeah. No, it was just, right. Okay, yeah, that was fun. All right. Anybody want to talk about Ohio State begging for people to be better fans? Well, what was my initial reaction when we were trying to talk about Joe Burrow playing in the preseason? I was like, I just want to talk about this damn story.
I know. And you're even like, we've been trying to do this for 2 weeks.
But I do think.
And then Shedeur, almost like you're resigned to the idea that Shedeur interrupted the conversation.
So what's interesting about this is, I think because there are so many, and this happens with anybody who has this kind of following. If you have a huge positive following, that automatically attracts a huge negative following. And
yeah, for sure.
That is Shedeur and how he looks on Friday is the battleground for the next 5 days for those two camps.
I remain shocked. And listen, there's a lot of people, you guys know my Shedeur takes at this point, but I was shocked at the amount of people yesterday that had some sort of vitriol reaction to me just saying that he deserves snaps over checks notes Snoop Huntley. Like, I was shocked. There was people in one of the Facebook comments that was like, JP used to be my favorite host at the station. Now I can't do it with this Shedeur stuff. It's like, this is what broke you? Supporting a Browns quarterback that is not, it shouldn't be make or break, by the way.
Over Tyler
Huntley? Yeah. This is what gets you? This is where everyone just all of a sudden decides to go. Like, it's amazing to me. I shocked. I would get it if I did a national show and people caught up and they're like, listen, this isn't the conversation we want to have right now. But in Cleveland, talking about Shedeur in a positive way, that gets that type of reaction. Mind-blowing to me.
We did find out today, and this is actually from Zach Jackson's piece about Shedeur starting on Friday. We did find out that, and I think this flies in line with what we would expect, that Joe Flacco is unlikely to play in the first 2 preseason games. And so I think this adds another level of intrigue. Joe got a majority of the ones today. Mm-hmm. Joe is trending towards being the starter unless somebody can upset the apple cart. And at the same point, you have Joe speaking into any microphone that will listen. I can still do this. Almost like pleading with people to understand, like he didn't. The Monstars didn't steal his power overnight.
I do think it's interesting how many people it seems like he has to campaign to. It started with Albert Breer about a month or so ago. Remember, Albert had that sit down with Joe Flacco, and then he left, and then he came on this station and started talking about Joe Flacco a certain way. And then, between Aditi, between the Michael Silver piece that I'll reference coming up in a little bit, between the piece you just mentioned there with Zach Jackson, it is interesting that Joe within this does feel like he has to constantly speak up about not only what he's accomplished, but what he still thinks he can accomplish.
There's a part of me that, and again, I don't want to say this in a bad way, because I think Joe has been the consummate professional since being here. I think Joe's pretty savvy with the game, and if I was Joe, you're maybe not getting the kind of reps that a true incumbent starter would get. There's so much talk about Shedeur and Dylan and Kenny Pickett. I would understand if Joe is kind of feeling like the forgotten man in this conversation.
Well, and so that's why I think the Silver piece is interesting. Like the one part of the Silver piece that stood out to me, this was on The Athletic. He goes, I need reps. And not only do I need reps, I want reps. I like reps. I want to get better. And also, I want to be able to show guys, hey, I can still do it. So like, there is a part of Joe Flacco that is publicly campaigning to be given more opportunities. That's why it didn't surprise me when it's like, oh, who's getting the most throws today? And the part that matters the most to Kevin Stefanski? Oh, Joe Flacco's getting those. Like, clearly he's starting to voice he wants to be a part of this. He doesn't want to just sit on the sidelines and then get thrown in week one.
This is why I think a good mark of a good quarterback competition is if a fan base or maybe even the whatever media group, the support staff that these players have around them, the agent, your significant other, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
I think a good mark of this quarterback situation is if we came away and none of the individual camps felt like their guy got a fair shot. So like
there's a real possibility to that.
Because like I think Joe has a legitimate gripe as a guy who makes sense to start week one the most, unless a rookie can unseat him. I can understand if Joe's like, listen, I kind of proved that I can do this coming off the couch 2 years ago, but imagine what I could do if I wasn't coming off the couch.
And I think that's kind of what he's lobbying for. Like, he knows he's set up in a pretty bad situation himself with the way the first 6 weeks of the schedule is set up. Like, he's set up not in a way that you think to yourself, I got this in many respects. But if he wants to, Coffee, he's not doing this to play 6 games and then hand off the ball to somebody else. He wants to do all 17.
But like the Shahive clearly does not think Shedeur has been set up to succeed here with the limited amount of reps. Joe, himself saying, man, I'd love more reps. I think if you're a Pickett person, your guy was getting a lot of the first team reps until he hurt his hamstring. So you're probably not going to feel, not that you're blaming the Browns, but you probably feel like he hasn't gotten the chance. I think the only group of people is the Gabriel Goons might be sitting here and saying, oh, well, we have gotten a lot more first team reps.
I think they're happy. Yeah, I think they're happy with the amount of reps they've gotten. I think that might be the only group that is happy here. Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that. But it is interesting that Flacco's in the catbird seat, but he's still out here complaining and campaigning.
I think he should, by the way. Again,
no, I don't blame him. Like, you got to take care of you at the end of the day.
Well, and he has more of a rightful. If we just talk about what have you done in this town and what have you done in your career, if we just put the resume test out there, Joe deserves to start. And honestly, he deserves to start without a ... after his name. That's not really how the NFL works, though, and that's not really how this situation works either.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you can look at Joe and go, I don't think it's unfair, but Joe's maybe not being put in the best position to succeed, but you're 41, you're getting a chance. Like, I actually really am okay with Joe talking like this. At the same point, that's probably the best thing you're going to get around the NFL.
Well, why would you throw him out there to start if you didn't want to give him the best chance to actually win games? So, like, I don't hate the mindset being, if this is what Joe needs, if he needs to take Wednesday snaps against the Panthers in a joint practice, if he needs to take snaps next week against the Eagles, like, then okay, give it to him. Like, if you're going to have him start and you're going to give him that chance, then yes, you do have to cater to him in a way.
Yeah, this is interesting because on one hand,
but you still got to develop your guys, but also you got to get the guy that you're going to start and put out there the best opportunity to succeed.
On one hand, I'm very much like, I don't really care what's fair. Let's go see whoever we have to see. And the most likely thing in my mind is this thing's going to 3-14. Let's just play that out. So that's what I think about where this should go. I see the Joe Flacco side of things. I see the Kenny Pickett side of things, even if I disagree with it. I see the rookies and the idea of playing them. Like, this is one of those scenarios where I understand if anybody has a gripe in this, or if anyone says, if I just got X, Y, and Z. But I guess my point is, like, this is not, there's nothing that's going to be fair about this. There's nothing about this that's going to be, like, there's nothing about this that's going to be pretty. And you if any one of these quarterbacks succeed, you're going to be doing it in spite of the circumstances. That might not be fair, but this is part and parcel how the NFL works.
And that's why 5 months from now, if we have leaked reports from Flacco, from Pickett, and from everybody else being like, whose dumb idea was it to make it a 6-man quarterback competition? Like, whose dumb idea was it to have everybody that wanted to play quarterback be given an opportunity here in Cleveland? They'll be justified if that's how this ends up going down.
But those people should have already been saying that.
Well, Joe, that's why Joe is, I think, in many respects. Well, but I think that's why Joe is campaigning for himself here to be like, hey, I want the reps. I love the reps. I need the reps.
But I've started to see more criticism of the Browns in this quarterback situation as if it was like an ideal situation in the first part. Like it's Joe Flacco, it's Kenny Pickett,
it's an unwinnable situation from Jump Street.
And by the way,
in many ways,
that
we can't lose sight of that.
We should probably grade Kevin Stefanski on a curve because of that. And in terms of how we assess Andrew Berry's ability to assess the quarterback situation, this isn't the quarterback room. This is not set up to be the quarterback room that it is fair to judge him off of. You have to judge him off the other mistakes he's made, not this one.
Well, and if I was Stefanski talking to Joe Flacco, I would say tough. Like, I'm sorry, you get whatever I'm going to give you, and we'll try to see how this works. But the end goal is to be able to get one of these guys to perform at a high rate, and we still need to find out what those guys can do. But that's where Flacco's like, I don't care. You see how everyone's got their own interest here at play, and they should.
And by the way, all of them are fair.
Yeah, but
there's no like heel here. Well, there's no villain here.
Here's the dumb part: is that Flacco should know at this point. Stefanski doesn't care if you talk to Mike Silver. Like, he just doesn't. Like, he doesn't care if you have an interview with Albert Breer and wants to speak your piece or speak your mind. Like, one thing I'll credit Stefanski for, good or bad, is that he really doesn't seem like he lets the outside noise dictate anything that he does.
I want to be clear. I don't have a problem with Joe telling anyone who will listen I can still do this. Now you got to go prove it on the field. But I have no problem with Joe saying this on any level. At the same point, show me another 41-year-old quarterback who has not been a consistently good starter in the NFL for 8 years that is being gifted a golden opportunity to be the front runner in a job at this point in their career.
It's funny. I was reading the Silver piece, and they were talking about like the good old days with Joe Flacco. And I remember the good old days being when we debated whether or not he was elite.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was like, wait a second. Even if that Joe Flacco still existed, the one that we were debating if he's elite or not, if that one was still exactly the same quarterback that he is right now, we wouldn't be doing anything special for.